Hi, and welcome to Conservation Kids. This is the show where you have a question about nature and we find the answer with the help of some of our experts like Professor Turkey Vulture here. Let's find out what our first question is going to be today.
Hi, my name's Savannah, and I would like to know where maple syrup comes from.
Wow, that's an excellent question. We're here today at Mountsburg Conservation Area to find out where maple syrup comes from.
It comes from a bush. I think it comes from trees, like pine trees that produce sap.
Wow, those kids had some really interesting answers. Let's go find Brenna, the park protector. I know she knows a lot about maple syrup.
That's an awesome question because maple syrup is so traditional to where we live. A lot of people think it's something that people make all the way across Canada because the leaf from the tree where you get that maple syrup is right on our flag. Okay? Sugar maples are where we get maple syrup, but they only like to grow in a few very special places. Ontario, Quebec, the Maritime provinces, and down into some places in the United States. So if you live in Ontario, you're really lucky. This is where we make maple syrup, and we make them from sugar maples. And that's what these trees are. Now, you might wonder, when do you make maple syrup? And you make it when the trees wake up. And that's why sugar maples are so special, because they wake up the first out of all of the trees in the spring. So when the ground starts to thaw out and the snow starts to melt and we get muddy puddles in the middle of March, that's when sugar maples are waking up. And what that means is that they're starting to bring sap up from their roots, up inside their trunk and out to their branches to make leaves. And they're one of the very first signs of spring. Another sign of spring that I always look for is the return of turkey vultures, just like Professor TV here. So you'll see the sap start to run in the trees, you'll see turkey vultures come back, you'll see red-winged blackbirds. That's when maple season's happening. And nature also tells us when maple season ends. So when the frogs start to call in the marsh, we start to hear them calling and looking for mates, that's when we know it's time to take the taps out of the trees and maple season's done. And that's where maple season comes from sugar maples.
There you have it. You wanted to know where maple syrup comes from. And we found that it's from the sap of very special trees called sugar maples. The sap moves under the bark of the sugar maples in the springtime and is sweet. The sap starts to move when the snow starts to melt and stops when the frogs start to call. Thanks to Brenna the park protector for helping us find the answer. And now it's time for a Conservation Kids tip. Sugar maples need the weather and climate here in Ontario to stay the same so they continue to live here. That's why, when you leave the room, make sure to turn off all lights and your television. And when you're out with your parents, make sure that they turn off their vehicle when it's not in use. Thanks for watching Conservation Kids.